6 o'clock. I'm going to call the meeting to order. Alice Todd is excused, and as well as Mark Eckberg. Next up is the review of the public minutes from April 14th.
The motion to accept the April 14th, 2026 public meeting minutes.
I second that.
A motion, a second. Any other items? All those in favor of the motion, do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are accepted. Next meeting is May 26th here at Belmont Elementary School. Next up is public communication and correspondence. If anybody from the public wishes to speak, now is an opportunity. We'll also have a moment at the end of the meeting as well. And if you could state your name as well.
Oh, yeah, my name is Larry Phillips, and I'm from Canterbury. And man, I thought this would just be a little group here, you know. But anyway, the reason why I'm here, the school district really puts out a great report with all of the detail, and I've always played with numbers. And on the taking the Belmont Elementary School staff. In 2022-23, it was 63. The following year, 74. And the following year, that is 84. With less students from 24 to 25. There's 36 teachers plus assistants in the classroom, and assistants were behavioral. So it's a total of 58 teachers for 312 kids.
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you, like, typically this is just an opportunity for you to kind of ask, make a statement, and we don't typically respond. But I will say, I don't believe the number of teachers has changed really. Like, I think a lot of this is driven by one-to-one requirements would be my guess. Michael, if you want to speak to it, I'll briefly maybe.
Sure, the majority of the increase in the staffing, it'd be specific to one-to-one assistance for students that require those services.
Excuse me, what's that now?
Majority of the increases in staffing at BES would be our one-to-one assistance for students that require those services,
Okay,
not
well,
teachers.
yeah, there's 22 of those behavioral assistants and assistants in the classrooms. That's 22, but then there's just 36 teachers. I mean, if you can just count them up on page 7 and 8 in the report. There's 36 teachers plus the 22, so a total of 58. And I the way I felt, it was in 25-26, there was 20 people hired, new people. And apparently, so that was an increase of 10 because for whatever reason, 10 people left. And, without, laying people off or anything like that, if 10 people left, then you'd go back from the 74 to the 63. Instead, you go up to 84 by hiring 20 people. It just seemed that, and let me say this: my grandkids went through the school system, okay, and it was great. They did a fantastic job, both academically and sports and band and all that stuff. I mean, it was, and then they've done really well since, and their friends have too. So the teachers and the school, does a good job. But can they do the job with less personnel? I mean, like, any business, whether it's a large corporation or a small business, the biggest expense is payroll, is personnel, and one of the things that you can control. So that's, So I don't want to be all negative, but I mean, it just seems that the numbers are really, way out of place. Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Any other comments? All right, we are going to move to the next item on the agenda, which is a student club presentation.
Good evening. My name is Katie Van Cura, art teacher here at Belmont Elementary School. I'm standing with 10 amazing fourth grade artists. They're going to talk a little bit about the Arts and Residence project that we just had here about a few weeks ago. Go ahead, Dean.
Good evening. Our school welcomed artist Mark Raganese as our artist in residence for 2 weeks in April. He helped us create colorful, life-size wooden figures that are now hanging in the gym for everybody to enjoy. The fourth grade students began the project by drawing human figures in various poses, such as a softball stance, kicking a ball, someone holding a musical instrument, or even an artist holding a palette and brush. These are all activities that we thought describe what we do here at Belmont Elementary School. Mrs. Van Kira then took photos of the students in those poses too. We ended up choosing 9 different activities that describe our school. All of these wooden drawings, all of these drawings and photos were sent to Mark so that he could create all 9 wooden life-size silhouettes. Each one is just as big as us. Mark also cut each wooden silhouette into puzzle pieces. These were the pieces that we all got to paint our very own unique colors. Mark showed us in art class to create our own special blend of whichever color our class was working on. We practiced first, then we painted right on our wooden piece. We even got to name our colors like macaroni yellow, for example, or icy blue. Each student had to put their name on their pieces because the next week in art class, we also got to stamp our wooden pieces. Again, we practiced and then stamped on our piece, making it even more unique. Mark showed us how to repeat our stamp designs to make it pattern too. They loved putting the pieces together and they were trying to see the puzzles complete. Mark told us that our community is just like these puzzles. Every little piece matters. If one of us is missing, the puzzle is not complete. It means that can be every one of us is important and matters here at Belmont Elementary School. Each of the 9 wooden silhouette figures are now hanging in the gym, making it a more engaging place for students to learn and grow. It's beautiful. Every artist in residence project that is created and experienced continues to unify our school community. Thank you for listening to us speak. We would now like to take you down to the gym quickly to see the final art piece.
Sweet.
So afraid of like, who else is doing it? He's like, computer, so I'm sort of like computer because like my smart computer control or delete. That's not how this works. So I'm like, wait, no, this doesn't have a delete. Like it doesn't have a delete button. Like it doesn't. There's a delete button.
I want you.
So when you go to delete something, you have to use Alt backspace.
Oh.
That's so weird.
Hi, how are you, Greta?
How you doing?
I'm doing really well.
Still hanging out?
How are the boys?
Good, good. Yep, I saw Austin and Logan on Mother's Day.
Oh, well,
Great. I will say, I don't, if it's too much, then, like, cause I was co-teaching actually. Oh, okay. Yeah. Brett, I don't know if Austin told you that I talked to my daughter Riley, who's going to Emerson in the fall.
Oh, no.
One of her tasks was to reach out to
Alumni? Oh,
Well,
cool.
they had a really nice conversation.
Oh, good. Good.
Yourself, gave her some really good pieces of advice.
Good. Yeah, no. He's, networking wise, it's been very beneficial.
Yes.
Yeah.
The plan itself is on.
I'm sorry.
You know, they still don't know how to do it.
Yeah, probably.
I like the field trip.
You're right.
Yeah.
We should have a standing agenda.
Yeah.
Field trips.
Over in the screen.
Like Mike was saying, like we're listening to him. Oh, I got to make a note to go check it out.
Yeah.
Right.
All right. Next up, we have reports. Student reps. There are no student reps tonight. No, I don't think there are any reports in the packet, right? Principal reports. We can start with CPS. We have information in the packet as well.
Hi, everybody. Just kind of come around this way, I guess. Hope you're all doing well. We, as always, are very busy at CES. May and June are both big months for assessments. Last week, the fourth graders successfully completed 3 days of the New Hampshire SAS. And it was great. They came on time every day. We had 100% attendance every day, and fantastic effort. Today was day one for third graders. Same thing. They were all present on time and worked really hard on their testing. This is the first year where every single student has been present so far. So I don't want to jinx myself, but I'm really excited about that. We've had lots of different academically related events. One being our wax museum. Mrs. Briggs over there in pink is the teacher who heads that up. All of the students researched a historical or significant figure, dressed as that character, and said a speech to the visitors who visit the gym to come to the event. And they always do an incredible job with that project. And they did once again this year. We also had the Monster Band concert recently, which is a really nice opportunity for the elementary students to go up to BHS, join together with musicians from the middle and high school, and to meet all these different kids and play and practice together during the day, and then perform for families at night. Mrs. Moulton is over there and she's waving. She was a big part of that event. And one thing I love about it is it shows the kiddos just how far they can go and what comes next, and keeps them excited about staying with the program. I won't go through everything because we've had lots of different events that you can read about in the packet. But one we're looking forward to this week on Thursday night is the Drama Club production. This year it's The Jungle Book, and most of our first to fourth graders are involved in some capacity, whether it's backstage crew or being a member of the cast. So that's on Thursday night. We're really excited for them to show off what they've been working on for several months. Last thing I wanted to highlight, I did quickly mention it in my report. We have been trying actively to seek out a fifth grade teacher. The position was posted at the beginning of February. At this point, we've held 3 rounds of interviews without coming out with someone to move forward. I did just today receive 2 more applications, and I've already reached out to schedule interviews. So it's a continued process. Hopefully we find the one soon. Any questions?
I have a couple questions.
Sure.
About the 5th grade teacher.
Yes.
For the job listing, is it just specifically for the 5th grade teacher? Or
Yes.
is it just K through 5?
No, it says
Okay.
5th grade. Yes.
One of the things I wanted to ask, if you're not able to find a candidate, is it possible, and I understand like contractual obligations and stuff, some of the lower grades have 2 teachers. Is there a potential to pull one of the teachers from the younger grades to bump them up to 5, and then see if you can hire for one of those, like getting a younger teacher that can be paired with a more experienced teacher?
Potentially. It's something Michael and I would have to discuss, but we also have to keep in mind the certification levels that different people have. For example, some of the primary teachers are only certified to teach through 3rd grade.
Is there anybody that might be willing to move classrooms?
We're not at that point.
Okay.
Yeah, we haven't gotten there yet. Right now, we're trying to fill that position.
Okay. I guess
It would cause a strain on
Yeah.
a lower grade that I would want to avoid if possible.
Mhm.
So it's definitely something we could discuss as an option. But we're hopeful that
Another question.
round
on the
4, we find the one.
same lines, but I know that I was going to get to this with Belmont Elementary as well as hiring for a teacher. I think they might have one applicant or one person potentially coming. They're still hiring for another position. Is there any effort to kind of work together to share applicants or?
Yeah, we were just talking about that this week. Ben and I often will communicate, Erin and I will communicate on whether or not folks are applying at both sites, firstly. But also if you met someone who'd be great if they just had a little bit, of a more experience with an older grade or a younger grade.
Yeah.
So we talk about that all the time. But with round 1, as I put in my report, our selected candidate declined. Round 2, we didn't have a suitable candidate. And round 3, we lost that candidate to another position offer somewhere else as well.
All right, other questions?
Sorry.
So it sounds like the push is still coming along with trying to find someone for the position. When would we know if, as the summer continue or gets closer to it, if the kids are going to be staying or if they're going to be moving forward? Is there a deadline for when we would know?
I'd like to shoot for the end of June.
Shoot for the end of June.
Yes.
So shortly after.
If we're not able to fill the position,
That's
we can
not-
bring it back to the board potentially for a decision, or at
Okay.
least let the board know where we're at that point for the end of June, so we can let families know if necessary.
To help.
But right now,
transition should there
we're
need to be one.
doing our due diligence to
Right.
fill the
Appreciate
position.
that. Thank you.
And we got 2 applicants today, so maybe one of them's the one.
Fingers crossed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Could you state your name for the minutes just so we can have that
Oh,
too?
Sorry, Lauren Roach, CEO parent.
Thank you. All right, next up is Belmont Elementary.
Good evening, everyone. I'll just highlight a couple of things from my report quickly. First, Family Arts and Literacy Night is one of my favorite nights of the year because just about all of our families are here and it's such a positive vibe and energy in the building. I put in the report everything that's going on, so I won't repeat that, but definitely one of my favorite nights. It really brings our BES community together. The fun run was new this year, so the PTO put that on. Chantel Baker Vogler was a big leader in that regard from the PTO, and that ended up, it's a fundraiser. We're trying to start to fundraise for the playground. We have some equipment out there that's getting to close to the end of its useful life, and just talking to other districts, Laconia just replaced their playgrounds, and they talked about $250,000 per playground. So the PTO and I have been talking about this for a couple of years. The need to put some pre-K type equipment in when we go to a new playground, and then replace some of the equipment that's reaching the end of its life. So we're just getting started really, but they did a great job. And it culminated with the kids out here running on the field in a big, like 35 minutes of pumped up music and kids running around and having a great time with each other. So a great event, and it raised, I think, about $14,000. So super proud of the PTO, the work they're doing. The teaching position. So we interviewed a candidate yesterday, and I think she's going to be our candidate. So I need to make reference calls, but I did speak with her this afternoon, and she's excited about joining our staff. So hopefully I'll get our second classroom position filled, and I can relax a little bit. Those are the big ones, right? Happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Thank you.
Mr. Pope. Hi, everyone. Just a couple things to highlight in my report and a couple additional things that didn't make it into the report. So our kids came back from Camp Cody, nice and safe and dirty and smelly and all that good stuff, but it's just such a great time. We get lots of positive comments on the behavior of our kids. So we end up sharing that week with a couple of other schools. So it's always kind of great for our kids to meet other kids from other schools and things like that. But we get lots of praise from all the counselors up at Camp Cody, which makes us feel good about the behavior of our kids. So pretty excited about continuing to go to Camp Cody. A couple of things not in the report that I didn't get to put in there because of timing, but we had a drama production just this past weekend, which was outstanding. Our PTO supported a light system, like a stage lighting system that was shared with the DES PTO and things like that. So we created kind of a lighting system that we can share across the district, which has been great. And it was the first time we got to use it at the middle school. And it just makes a big difference, right? When you can see everything, and then we had a nice sound system, you can hear everything. So it makes it that much more enjoyable, especially as a parent when you can see and hear your kids up on the stage. So phenomenal job with all that. Hiring, we've had 4 retirements at the middle school, so we've been very lucky. We jumped on it super early. So we have 3 really great candidates to fill 3 out of the 4 positions that we had at the middle school. We're still looking for a world language teacher, which is, if you've done that before, it's really challenging. There's not a lot of world language teachers out there, so we're continuing to look, keep it posted, and hopefully we'll get some good applicants for that. But the 3 candidates that we've hired, really happy about that. Solid candidates with some experience, things like that. And just lastly, as promised, our maple sugaring group is finished for the season, and they would like me to give you a sampling of their efforts for this year. So they entered the Tucker Mountain Challenge as they have every year, and they came in 5th place. Which is respectable. So here's the samples.
Was it way down this year? And the way over
Pretty similar, I think, from last year. It was the weather always plays an interesting part to the productions. I think we have 2 board members right there.
Yeah.
So it always plays a role into how much staff they get, but they did pretty well, given the weather and temperatures and things like that. So, in 5th place, pretty respectable. It was a lower turnout actually this year for the competition. I think there were maybe 10 or 11 teams.
Because of the weather.
I think so. I don't really know the answer to that, but I think so. Typically, we've seen 20 to 25 people in the competition. There was, I think, 10 or 11 this year. So, yeah. It's good. Happy to answer any questions you might have.
What was the play?
It was kind of a spoof on like mythological, like Zeus and all the Greek gods, things like that. It was really funny, actually. They did a really nice job.
Thank you. All right, Belmont High School, Mr. French.
Good evening, everybody. The spring at every high school is just a sprint every single day. So we are mid-sprint right now for sure. I've tried to highlight a number of things that are recent accomplishments and some upcoming things as well. One of the really major accomplishments is that we had our NEASC collaborative conference visit, where we had some visitors from other schools, other educators who come in and they visit us for a couple of days. They visit classrooms, talk to parents, they talk to students, and then they give us some recommendations in terms of what to look for in terms of progress between this year and our decennial visit, which is in 2 years. It's in 2028. It was a great visit. We got a lot of compliments about our community and culture in particular, and the way that every single student, was engaging in conversation with them, and they learned a lot from our kids. So that's really awesome. Kind of echoes of some of the hiring steps. We had a Spanish candidate that we were excited about. We moved that individual forward, but at the financial offer declined the position. So we had to kind of go back to step one with that, and I'm still waiting for new applications to come in. That was some time ago. So that position in particular, I'm getting a little concerned about. The math position, we are mid-process right now. There have been some interviews and some conversations about candidates. So that's most definitely, moving forward. And we filled our front office secretary position with Jasmine Taylor, who, my goodness, somebody who jumps right in. She's answering phones and all this different stuff. Maddie Sandifer, our other front office secretary, was actually out for a few days, and you couldn't tell because Jasmine was excellent, right from the start. We're really, really excited and lucky to have her. I put some semester one student academic data in here. And some of the comparisons, I wanted to put in both the stuff that we're really happy about, that we're really proud of, which is our honor roll and high honor roll numbers. In total, we had 159 students qualify for either honor roll or high honor roll. That was 60 of them, 60 kids made the high honors, which is great. And it's almost the exact number of students who failed one or more classes. So, you kind of talk about that bell curve and things like that. It was almost exact, on those two sides of the spectrum. So, we break down the information, we break down the data, try to look at individual cohorts of students who are not hitting those honors, high honors, and things like that. We, obviously work to move forward. Our recovery program was very successful once again. The vast majority of students who showed up and participated in it recovered the credits, and those were checked off toward graduation. So it's always exciting. The teachers do a great job preparing those students and working with them whatever their individual needs are. It's been a testing stretch for sure, and I don't mean testing on the nerves. Sometimes it is, I guess, but SATs took place. So that's always a huge venture for our school counseling team. And then as soon as SATs are done, they jump right into the science SAS testing, which is this Thursday, and AP testing, which is over the series of a number of weeks. So our school counselors, particularly Polly Kamari and Julie Halbrecht, do a great job, coordinating all that. And there's a whole lot of moving pieces that have to get juggled to, coverage in classrooms and, where are they going to test, and accommodated students have to be in another spot. So it's really challenging. They do an awesome job. Polly Ingram worked tremendously hard once again to bring the 5th annual career fair to BHS. The gym was full, and our students have some of the most genuine, authentic conversations with those individuals at tables that you will see from kids all year. It's just phenomenal. Polly does a really nice job of prepping even the businesses to know what kind of interactions they should expect to have with the students. So it's tremendous. We had a group of students qualify for the World Championships in robotics. It's all three of them are seniors. So what a tremendous career that those 3 individuals, that's Cadence, Ethan, and Al, have had in our program. So we're sorry to see them go, but we're excited to see the next crop of students kind of getting into the qualifying levels and getting to the Worlds. Prom is this Friday. If anybody would like to chaperone, please let me know. And there's also a number of other really exciting clubs and after school activities that I tried to highlight it here, at least kind of show some of the really cool, interesting things that are happening. BHS continues to be a great place. Students have a lot of opportunities there. These are just little snippets of it.
I have a number of questions.
All right, let's start with the first one.
First, the NIAS, the information you put in there.
Yep.
You talked about, priority areas.
Yeah.
Is that based off of a report you received back already or just verbal? Like, are you getting the report based on that visit?
That's a great question. So, our self-study that our faculty and staff worked on prior to their visit includes establishing what we believe our priority area goals should be moving forward. Then obviously the team comes here and they've got a totally fresh perspective. They've never been in our building, most of them. They have these authentic conversations with all these different stakeholder groups, and part of their report is either affirming or teasing out or even completely changing around in some cases, what your priority area goals should be. The only reason that I know that this is going to be it is at the end of their visit, the steering committee, which was myself, Associate Principal Sandville, Polly Kamiri, Mr. McStrebick, who is actually here tonight, and Edie DeCanjas, we have a sit-down meeting with them, and they kind of go over what their findings are. And they told us at that meeting that those are exactly what we think we should be working on. They 100% agree. Like, those are things that, yep, that's where you are. Which is really nice to hear, actually, that, our belief of what we're doing well and what we can do better is, authentic for that group. So I haven't gotten the report back yet, but again, I know that that's what they're going to affirm.
Failure rate data.
Yes.
I was reading the packet and I was like, I just want to compare what it looked like last year. And I was annoyed a little bit because I'm looking at last year's and it was the same date, I think the first meeting in May of 25. But it was last year gave failures by course rather than by students. So it was hard to compare apples to apples.
Okay.
And so I just think in the future, if we can come up with one way to do it and be consistent so we can compare the two.
Year by year.
Using my rough math, and I don't know, I saw the number of total failures last year, I think were 115, whereas here the total courses failed 117.
Mm-hmm.
So it seemed like a similar number. If that makes sense.
Of total courses.
So
yeah, I think the number of students who are represented there is down a little bit.
All right. I guess that was my question.
Sure.
I wasn't clear on what the
Yeah.
student numbers were different.
For my next report, I'm happy to grab, obviously I have it from last year. I'll do a comparison for you.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So you're thinking that the courses are pretty similar, but the number of students is lower.
I believe so. I believe the number is a little bit lower, which there's pros and cons to that, because it's still a representation that we have some students who are really not performing well. I'm not going to put them by name, obviously, but we've got some individuals who just are struggling to engage whatsoever in their education. And we have lots of different, strategies and supports in place for them. The teachers, are working hard to get them into TLT and to get them to this and get them to that. And we have, some students who are just not catching on, not picking it up. So eventually you get to a point where you talk to that individual and the family about what pathway are we really looking at here? We need to make sure that these years are valuable to you. So it's still, valuable to have those conversations and think about what the student's future is. But obviously we'd love that number to be 0.
All right. Last question. You had a section called Getting to Why about the SAP, the student assistance program. I'm still a little unclear. Did we have a survey this academic year?
No, I think it's every other year that we're supposed to do it.
Okay.
So
what are they reviewing? Data from last year?
correct. So
Okay.
they're still looking at trends. And when they get together with other schools that are also involved in getting to why, it's a valuable opportunity for those students to hear about almost the results elsewhere. And you see that there's, statewide trends,
Yeah.
right? So some of the programming that they discussed with Melissa Allen, our student assistance program coordinator, are based, yes, specifically at BHS in our district, but it gives them an opportunity to get ideas and kind of bounce things off of the kids too.
Other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. We have an enrichment report in the packet. This English here.
You see the Mr. Gingrich is very busy in both BMS, BES, and CES. Great job with students.
If you have questions about the report, you can send them to Michael and you can ask. All right, board member reports. Anything, Michelle? Good. Michelle? Hey.
I have a couple things. I did get questions from the parent of a high school student about an email that was sent out about vandalism to the bathrooms. And I did not know anything previous. She showed me the email that went out. Is that something that is information that could be shared with the board? Because I feel like it might be applicable to the budget and coming up with a resolution to that issue.
Yeah, the information was specific to a TikTok challenge that's going on and where students are vandalizing bathrooms. So some of our students are participating in that challenge, and we'll definitely be following disciplinary processes when we find who the students are, if we haven't already.
Is there anything that's put in place to catch them?
Yeah, there's monitoring, yes.
Okay.
There's plenty of monitoring. That's unfortunate with these challenges. Not the first time there's been a TikTok challenge that brings vandalism to schools.
That's all.
Nothing for me.
All right. Next up, we have the evaluation committee recommendation.
Yes, we have Mr. Pope and members of the committee here to do a presentation for the board this evening. Done some great work over the past several years, starting back in 2023. So they're here to present. We have a PowerPoint. It's also part of your board packet in the folder.
Yeah, separate of the packet.
Separate of the packet, yeah. So it's the same presentation. So Mr. Pope will take the lead, and just really proud of the work that they've done up to this point.
Yeah, I'll start us out. Super excited to be looking at this in our evaluation system. It's been a topic of conversation for many years about just, trying to update and look at our evaluation system to, put in a better system for our administrators and teachers and things like that. So I'm joined by a lot of the members of the committee, and the presentation that's in your packets, same up on the board there. So we're just going to go through a couple of slides, just give you some highlights, talk to you about our process and kind of where we're at right now. And so I'll just start out by that first page. As you can see, there's representation from across the district, which was nice. So we've had, all 4 schools represented, administrators represented. We've had a few new people come and go, just because it's a 3-year process. So that's our current list of staff. And again, it represents just about every position within the district, including school counselors, nurses, because that was also a really important part of this evaluation discussion. So I'm really happy with that. And again, I've already apologized to Mrs. LeBlanc, but I keep putting in your packet it has DeGant
Yes.
on it. So it's my thing. So so just flipping to the next slide, we have a couple other people that are going to just talk about some of these slides.
This one is ours. So one thing that we liked about looking at the new evaluation tool was that it was a growth model versus just getting a score. So it was more conversations with this growth model. I think when we first started with the Danielson, I look at the score at the end, but this one really set you up for some conversations.
Yeah, I'm a second year teacher at BES, so I don't have a lot of experience with the Danielson, but I really thought this new model was simple, easy to understand. I really liked that we were looking at different cornerstones and being able to choose things that we thought we were strong in and then areas that we could grow in, and then coming up with goals and then meeting together before with Ben and then getting his feedback too, and then after meeting again and like having direct feedback on the goals that you were actually setting and not kind of just like looking to see like, oh, what score did I get? Yeah.
Well, I have 26 years of experience with Danielson. And, you know, I think anything staying the same for 26 years in public education is bizarre. Danielson was incredibly structured, didn't really recognize individuals as teachers and where they might be coming from. And I think that this model definitely addresses all of that.
Excellent. Thank you. So Ben will talk a little bit about our timeline here.
Yeah, this is a time that's a little bit hard to read probably, but we started this process 2.5, close to 3 years ago, in conversations and getting people together to start talking about some of the issues and challenges we were facing and where we might take that. In the fall of 2024, we really, as a committee, got together and focused on, we looked at 4 evaluation models that we wanted to take a closer look at. And so we had different subcommittees within our committee, look at those 4 models, come back and present to the full committee, and then we ended up developing a focus around thoughtful classroom and the Marshall model. So 2 models we looked at more closely. We gathered some forms, talked to some other districts using these models, brought the research in and talked to the team about where we'd like to go from there. And the committee chose thoughtful classroom as the model that they wanted to pilot. And so that pilot started this academic year. It happened in each school. We had 2 teachers in each school, a tenured teacher and a non-tenured teacher, participate in the program. And it essentially it involves a goal-setting step up front, so a conversation about where you're at, what your strengths are, what are some areas where you'd like some feedback and where you'd like to work. And then it moves into each teacher had at least a full observation and a walkthrough. Some had multiple walkthroughs. So that was kind of the pilot process. We got back together, everybody discussed feedback from different perspectives, administrators, teachers, younger teachers versus tenured teachers, and the feedback was largely positive, almost all positive feedback. We talked about a couple of things that, there are things we need to work on if we're going to move forward with the model. But a lot of work in place, and so we're at the point now where we're kind of bringing you a recommendation.
Mr. Finch will talk to us a little bit about why specifically thoughtful classroom and how it connects to our strategic plan and things like that.
Yeah, the first couple of thoughts I think are a bit of an echo of what some of the teachers have already said, is that it's a model that's built more on professional growth than it is evaluation, because everybody is supposed to be trying to get a little bit better at what we do. And the fact that it incorporates so many different aspects with conversations prior to and drop-in visits and formal visits and all, it really mixes things up and gives an opportunity for people to see a lot of what a teacher does in their classroom. And we'll talk a second about it's not just a teacher as well. So all the roles in a school are represented here too. The teacher shouldn't be put in a box. Kids respond to different styles and different approaches and different personalities. And thoughtful classroom really does respect that and gives people an opportunity to figure out where they are and where they want to go. But it doesn't put them in quite as much a box as some of the others do. And I really like that. There's a lot of common language that regardless of the role that you play in a school, there's still cornerstones that everybody should be striving for. From the administrative level to the faculty level to the support staff level, everybody should be working on those. So it's pretty easily adapted to different roles in the school. And there's a balance of engagement and achievement. Like both of those things are actually valued in the cornerstones and in the responses. So that's really important too. On the next one. Again, professional growth, not just a number. We promote all the time to our students that please stop just looking at the number you got on an assignment and look at the feedback that the teacher is giving you, because that's the most valuable part of this. So this is an opportunity to practice what we preach. This is more conversation. It's less of just a number that, again, of course, if I get an evaluation and a number on it, what's the first thing I'm going to look at? I'm going to peek at that number first. But this is conversation first, rating much later in the process. It's also customizable and flexible, again, regardless of what kind of role a person plays. And obviously the focus really on student impact, because, you know, teachers are recognizing what their students need on a day-to-day basis. We also recognize that this is something that aligns to a greater degree with the strategic plan of the district. The focus is on a growth mindset. That's one of the main aspects of the plan that we have moving forward. It's personalized to teachers. Oh, sorry. The next one.
Practice.
So, personalizing the process to teachers is going to give them more values and actually directly impact their students. If it's one size fits all type of responses versus something that a person, you know, specifically needs, it's significantly more impactful on a day-to-day basis. And again, no matter where the individual is starting, they could be a 26-year-old vet, a 26-year vet, they could be a 2-year vet, regardless of where they stand. It starts them at a certain place. They've got goals, and they move forward regardless of the starting point. Everybody should be moving forward. Next one. And again, achievement is there, obviously, for student achievement. There's also recognition of other areas of our strategic plan, like the wellness of our students and the wellness of our school community. Those are things that are represented in Thoughtful Classroom. It's rare to find an evaluation system that touches on something like that, and the relationships that our faculty and staff members are actually building with our kids, which we know every single day is one of the most important things about what we do as educators. And again, the deepening and reinforcing of learning ties directly into our desire to provide students with authentic opportunities. It's all over our strategic plan. It's everything that we're trying to move forward to, is recognizing from a student perspective, why is this important? Why should I be focusing on it? Why is it worth my time and effort? So it really pays homage to a lot of the things that we recognize are the centerpieces of who we are as a school community.
So Logan's going to tell us a little bit about the background of what you've heard the word cornerstone. So that's kind of the foundation of a thoughtful classroom.
Within Thoughtful Classroom, there are 4 cornerstones. The first cornerstone focuses on organization, rules, and procedures. So how does the teacher organize the classroom to enhance learning and establish rules and procedures that clarify expectations? Cornerstone 2 really focuses on positive relationships. How is the teacher building these meaningful relationships with students, and not only with the student, but amongst the students in the classroom? The third cornerstone focuses on engagement and enjoyment. How does the teacher motivate students to do their best work and inspire them in the love of learning to create those lifelong learners? Cornerstone 4 really cultivates a culture of thinking and learning. How does the teacher develop the classroom culture that promotes serious learning and sophisticated forms of thinking?
So we're going to get into some of the forms. Excuse me. We've got some handouts, just it's a little easier to see them in front of you. So you want to just take a minute.
So you've heard a couple of the teachers talk about goal setting, and so there is a form specific to that. The purpose of the goal setting form is to support teacher reflection and allow someone to consider their current practices as well as areas where they want to grow. It's something that is completed prior to a collaborative meeting so that those items can be discussed before an observation takes place. It allows someone to consider each of the 4 cornerstones and gives them some time to describe their strengths within each cornerstone, as well as provide examples to coordinate with that, and to describe some ways in which they would like to develop or enhance their skills, and maybe an example that supports that as well. All right, does that one say walk through?
Yeah.
Okay, that's us too. Okay. I should have worn my glasses. So the next one is the walkthrough form. And that is an opportunity for the administrator to come into a classroom unannounced for a snippet of time to see a portion of instruction, typically around 15 to 20 minutes. And there are certain areas under each cornerstone that you're looking to observe whether they're in practice or not. And after that, the important piece to happen is that collaborative discussion again, where the administrator will provide evidence for what they saw in the classroom, praise what was going well, pose a question or something for the pair to reflect on in discussion, and possibly propose next steps, or that's something we can collaboratively discuss together so that the teacher is always growing in their practice. And Mrs. Briggs had a couple pieces to share off of that as well.
So the Danielson model was very much like a checklist with actual boxes, and you get checked off in different boxes. This one actually has a similar format with a pre-observation discussion, just like the Danielson. But the difference I felt was it was more of a collaboration between your administrator and yourself, versus Danielson was kind of like, what will the lesson look like, so that they could go to the box. And then the other part that I really enjoyed was that it built this morale that even as a veteran teacher, you now can see pieces that you need to work on or things that you didn't think about. And it was a conversation, not just what a score. That part was great. And the other component that wasn't in Danielson, that's in this one, was the student engagement part. There's a lot about, are the students engaged? Are they having that joy of learning? That really wasn't in the Danielson model.
Ben and I will talk a little bit about the actual observation forms, and just to kind of highlight, and it really talks about reflection and that collaboration between the administrator and the teacher or the nurse or the school counselor is really something that's really been lacking. So the way these forms are set up allows for that. In your packet or on the screen, there's 2, but you have all 4 different cornerstones in there, and you'll notice right up front, it shows the teacher or the person being observed what the expectation is. And then it also has a section for, if these things are happening, this is what you'll see from the kids, right? Which is really helpful. So one, for a teacher as well as an observer as well. So if the kids are doing these things, then the teacher is doing those other parts that the teacher's supposed to be doing. And then what's been really nice, just going through the pilot with some of the teachers that I worked with, is that side, that right side with the provide evidence and praise and pose, that really provided some rich conversation. You know, there's always things we can work on and improve on, but it allowed for really good conversation and some things that we can grow on, and also how the administrator can support that teacher and what their goals are as well. So it's going to need to add.
I would agree the right part of the form to me was very impactful. The left side's important too, but it was quick. It was to the point where Danielson's very heavy on narrative and repetitive. It takes a long time for the administrator to fill out, and then you hand it to a teacher and they look at their scores.
Yeah.
And it's so, disappointing to put all that time into documenting something and then look at the score. And did I get the score I was supposed to? So I had the same experience with these two, that we had much better conversations than we had in the past with the Danielson model, and I think that's going to continue.
The next 2 slides are Polly and Rochelle aren't able to be here tonight, but just working really closely with them. It was really important as we started this process to make sure that we represented our school counselors and nurses. The Danielson model is really challenging when an administrator evaluates a non-nurse. Like, I'm not a nurse, or I'm not a school counselor either. So it's challenging when you have those conversations. What we're able to do in this model is work really closely with our school counselors and our nurses in the district and develop language that aligns with their best practices and really create our own framework based on these cornerstones. So we've already started that process. So I've met with all the nurses, I've met with all the school counselors. They've done work on their own, developing language, giving feedback and suggestions on what, their form would look like, similar to the teachers' forms, but related to, the national counseling standards and the nursing standards, things like that. So that's a work in progress right now. And I'm just really excited that we're able to kind of really collaborate on getting a model that supports what they do on a day-to-day basis. So, and then next steps, Tanya and Mike.
I can speak to that. So our next steps is really just going to collaborate with the SREA and the school board, particularly around the negotiation process, because it's specific to Article 3, Section K in the collective bargaining agreement, which is reduction in force. All the Danielson categories are in there. That's the only wording. It doesn't even speak to Danielson, but it talks about the ratings based on the rubrics of Danielson. So the recommendation, particularly of this committee that I've been part of, is to really relook at that article and adopt this more growth mindset type of evaluation process when you're discussing Article 3, Section K during the negotiation process. So I and the committee will be very happy to work with both parties when those conversations come up, if those conversations come up. And then we're already looking at launching some district-wide training and support, particularly we have a teacher workshop day in September of next school year, where this presentation is going to go to our all of our certified teaching staff to talk about really the benefits of thoughtful classroom, and there'll be some purchasing of some resources around that through grant monies for professional learning. And then continue to provide communication and professional development and ongoing support for the evaluation process. So again, we piloted this year, and now we're looking at the negotiation process as well as bringing this to our full staff because of all of the positive feedback we've received, particularly from the teachers and the administrators who have been part of this pilot program. So those are our next steps.
We're happy to answer any questions you might have.
I have a question. Leslie Miller. My question is with this, the thoughtful classroom aspect that you're trying to engage in, has there been any consideration for the educators at looking at generational culture in your assessments? When you're looking at how you're going to teach a classroom, are you looking at the population of students and the parents that are raising them? Because I think for a long time, a lot of the engagement has still been in that old culture of teaching with you need to sit down, you need to be quiet, you need to be doing what you're told. And our generation as parents are not raising our children in that way. And I wonder if that's something that's being considered. And additionally, maybe a thought would be engaging with the students and asking the students for feedback of the teachers' classrooms, because they may not speak outward in the school environment, but when they come home, they are very outspoken about how things are, and they actually have a lot of valuable opinions, and they're the ones that are being taught in this school. So it's just a thought for consideration.
Yeah, that's a great question. Just one of the first things that comes to my mind about this is our current model is really rigid. I think you heard someone speak about that. So this model really allows an opportunity to kind of address what you're talking about. To really adjust with times, because kids are different now than they were 5, 10, 15 years ago. So our current model is, again, pretty rigid, that it's not as flexible. So this allows us some of that flexibility in those conversations for sure. Yeah, it's good.
Aaron, the presentations of winter 25-26 participants shared largely positive feedback with the evaluation committee. My question is, and not to put anybody on the spot, but was that positive feedback consistent among elementary, middle, and high school, or was there any divisions between those?
Well, we have a good representation of everybody here, so I mean, we certainly.
That doesn't mean that they all agree.
It's true. So I'll let people answer.
I think I was at that meeting and pretty much that was consensus. I think I didn't hear anything negative.
As the elementary teachers, I really enjoyed it and we preach growth mindset and I can't do it yet, not just I can't do it. And I think that us using that as it starts with us too, so I think this model definitely helps that, and I really liked it too.
you can see from the participants on the committee, it's representation of teachers and administrators from all 4 schools. And I was at that meeting as well, and it was unanimous to move forward with this recommendation based on all positive feedback.
Was there only one teacher at the high school
So
on the committee?
as I kind of mentioned, and I'll let Matt speak to that, but just, we've had some different people because it's been 3 years. So we've had a couple of different high school representatives on there. But
Yeah, the primary individual is actually one of our coaches, so he couldn't be here tonight. So the person who engaged to the greatest degree, yes. He just, again, he on a baseball field.
It's a good excuse.
I didn't understand the part about the, I guess the observations, and it says date of observation, time of observation. But there's observations that touch on the 4 cornerstones. Is that one observation for 4 cornerstones, or is that 4 observations? Like, how many observations?
yeah, the idea is that within an observation, you're touching on all 4 cornerstones. Similar to Danielson, right? Danielson has 4 main categories. So these categories, these cornerstones, you ideally would hit on all 4 of those cornerstones throughout the process of the evaluation.
So even if you're doing 3 evaluations, you're looking at all 4 of these forms
Right.
in each of those evaluations. Okay.
Yeah, and so like, for example, for a tenured teacher, they don't necessarily get evaluated every single year, but, you could go in their classroom multiple times and, see maybe 2 cornerstones at one observation and then go back another time and then highlight 2 other, so at the end of the, the evaluation process, the goal is to have all 4 cornerstones addressed within the evaluation.
And I would say the Danielson model didn't really support the concept of walkthroughs. Like it was, you have to go in and stay in this room for a very long time, which is limiting for principals. Whereas if you've got 10 minutes and you can do a walkthrough, you can actually see a lot if you're in a classroom for 10 minutes.
Yeah, I would say to echo that too, just personally having, gone through with the pilot, I said to myself, I'm leaving after 20 minutes no matter what. I don't care where the teacher is at that point. I wanted to kind of test that because we don't really do walkthroughs in an evaluation setting. So it was really, you learn a lot more in.
Might miss something good though.
What's that?
You might miss something good if you leave early.
Well, right, but you want to stay longer, but for the pilot purpose, right? We wanted to try to make sure that we're doing it to fidelity, right?
But that's also where that conversation after the fact comes in. Is I think sometimes you go through one of those walkthroughs and hey, I had to leave, but I was really curious, what direction did this go?
Sure.
Or did that group
You're
that was working on
engaged in it
this?
too, so you
Yeah.
know what it is.
So and it gives an opportunity to open a conversation more so than just, well, I didn't see that, so I have to mark this down.
Yeah, right.
Sweet.
I have a question. Just over parent.
We're gonna ask you a question, but I just want to make sure that the board has an opportunity to ask their questions
Okay.
as well. Go ahead.
So I know that certain students have not the best relationship with certain administration. Is there a way to, I don't know, navigate the additional anxiety of is it just going to be the principals of the schools that are coming in and the assistant principal, or is it going to be fellow teachers, other staff members that are going to be coming in and doing that? Just because as a parent of a child that has anxiety around when an administrator comes in, they're like, oh no, they instantly think I'm in trouble. You don't want that weird feeling because then they're uncomfortable with the whole situation. And I love the idea of all of it, but I just know where my child's mindset would be with it.
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, generally it's the principal or the associate principal that does the evaluation because these are based on contracts for teachers, things like that. Mm-hmm. So a teacher couldn't do an evaluation on another teacher. So it would be that and typically, depending on the number of evaluations that happens with a staff member, like at the middle school, we share that. So I might do one and Mr. Saunders might do one. And then we collaborate on that. But it is usually the principal and the associate principal.
And I know I tell my students that Mr. Hill might be in this week and he's here for me.
Okay.
So don't worry about it. He's really watching what I am doing to give me some feedback so they can keep being themselves.
And they do.
Yep.
Questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for everybody.
Yeah,
Good
thank
job.
you.
All right, program of studies, EHS. This is a follow-up to our conversation.
So I'm not sure how you'd like to structure this. Obviously, we had a conversation. I put some of the new adjustments in blue highlights just to kind of, separate that from the recommendations and everything that have been there previously, just to highlight the highlights. One of which I think I even alluded to in my board packet, one of the possible, titles for the 20 credit diploma, is one that we had come up with and something for you to consider. We also have 4 members of our math department here tonight. And so my recommendation last meeting was, particularly with the math offerings topics, that Dave, Kristen, Megan, and Chris are here, and they are the experts. They're the ones who have made these recommendations. While I support every one of the recommendations that they've made, they are the experts in those topics. So be happy to have them field any questions as well.
So I had I'm assuming you forwarded these. My question is, what is the title of the class that meets the state requirement for Algebra 1?
For the state diploma?
Nope. For the state requirement of Algebra 1.
Yeah, so this was one of the conversations that we had. There is a difference between a state minimum standards diploma and a BHS diploma. So if the student has Algebra 1A, they would qualify for the 20 credit because they have a credit of algebra. So that's, at the end of the day, if they don't have a credit of algebra on their transcript, they cannot qualify for even the 20 credit. Our BHS diploma has a total of 26 credits. So we far exceed, what the minimum standards are, because those are the things that we feel students need in order to be successful.
So for me, that's unfortunate, because for me, what I struggle with is the state requires Algebra 1. What you just said is Algebra 1 is technically Algebra 1A. Based on what you said. The title of the class shouldn't matter, is what so here's the thing. You also saw my thing is, I think I'm getting hung up in the 1A and the 1B. I don't have a problem with there being, truthfully, something between 1A and geometry. What I'm struggling with is we're essentially deciding based on what kids take, whether if they only take 1A, that meets the state requirement of Algebra 1. But does it meet the state requirement of Algebra 1? Or is it because we made it meet the state requirement? So that's where I'm hung up. Isn't that we need 2 credits, it's the title. I do not believe, like when someone takes when someone takes civics, or when someone takes whatever the requirements are, physical science or whatever, they're not different. But with Algebra 1, we're teasing it out.
What's not different?
Different A's.
They're not different classes.
But we also require different science courses that have different standards that are associated with that content. So it's different standards. So it is not, to be very clear, Algebra 1A and Algebra 1B cover different course standards.
Can I ask a clarifying question?
Yeah.
So is your frustration that the kids who are graduating with a state diploma are not getting a
full algebra class?
No. My question is, if I say to you, I'm a student coming in or I'm a new parent, where's the Algebra 1 class? Well, it depends on whether you have a 20 credit diploma or whether you're going to go with the BHS standard diploma.
We would always recommend that kids pursue 1A and 1B. Because
So what I'm saying is, okay, so I don't support that then. I support that there be 2 credits to get on to the next one. But I do have an issue with us saying that the 20 credit diploma to meet Algebra 1, you can take 1A. But for the 26 credit, in order to meet Algebra 1, you need 2 credits and you need 1A and 1B.
So I think we look at it a little bit differently because we don't say that to students. We say, if you're going for the 26 credit diploma, you need 4 math credits. So when we approach it in that way, it doesn't matter if they took some of those at EMS. It doesn't matter if they took some of those at VLAX. They need to fulfill an Algebra 1 requirement. And because our Algebra 1 requirement, unless they took it in middle school and they're coming up with that, and they do have all of that, or they're coming in from a different school and they can prove proficiency in all of those standards, because they take Algebra 1A and 1B, it actually gives them 2 of their 4 required math credits. Because we talk in total number of credits and then in the number of classes. Much like if a student comes in, you brought up science. If a student comes in and they had integrated science in whatever districts they were in, we actually have to look and see what proficiencies and what standards they actually addressed to be able to place them accurately. And our counseling department does that all the time. They are very, very familiar with looking at transcripts from any transfer students and saying, yep, we will honor this credit because these are what you demonstrated if we don't have the same titles of courses. So I think we're looking at it a little bit differently. We're not trying to exclude students at all, and we have different pathways because of that. We are trying to honor the fact that students coming in and taking algebra, our algebra standards are broken up into 2 different semesters in order to get through all of them. And our failure and success data bear us out that students, the vast majority of students, need 2 semesters in order to complete all of the Algebra 1 standards.
So can I ask maybe a dumb question, but if I want to take VLAX, or I want to take algebra, right? I assume I can.
No, you can't.
by our standards, no. So we have policies that if we can get it into a student schedule and it's offered in our building, then we expect that you are going to take it with us. And the reason for that is that we align our standards one class. The reason that we have department meetings and things like that is they're aligning standards and skills and things. And, we want students to be long-term successful. So it is very rare that an exception would be made to them.
All right, so let me ask the question in a different way. If I'm a high achieving student, am I taking more classes than I used to have to take? Am I losing a semester of an elective I might want to take because I have to take 1A and 1B, 2 classes?
So do you want to talk about what the recommendation was?
And can the teachers, I'll give you names for the minutes too, just so kind of has it.
Kristen Cordick.
Dave McDonald.
Megan Schmearman. SCHMIERMUND.
Not that you've ever assumed that you have to speak.
And I'm Chris Maxtravic, MACSTRAVIC.
So what I was just going to add to that is part of our proposal to the new program of studies that you've seen is having a 1 semester, you talked about the high achieving students, having the opportunity for 1 semester Algebra 1 honors so that they aren't, as you said, taking an extra semester to get through those concepts. And to speak to what the state law says, the wording of that is very vague and doesn't actually say a credit in Algebra 1. It talks about exposure to algebraic concepts, geometric concepts, and then has 4 specific areas that we're looking for students to be exposed to. So the law itself, 306, doesn't exactly state explicitly credits in Algebra 1. It is algebraic concepts.
Okay, so you had asked me, now am I I'm worried that we're creating an inequity based on what we define as Algebra 1. Because what you just said, Ms. Sandoval, is that essentially we are saying to meet Algebra 1, which is required, I can look up the 306 rules, but it's in the, trying to use the new core standard, what did we call it? The core diploma, which by the way, I really like the title of that. I just can't remember it at the moment. But why do we have to have, so you're saying we need both to meet Algebra 1, but yet not. You said that Algebra 1 requirements are split up into 2.
The standards.
The standards are.
Yes.
So we are saying, then we're saying Algebra 1 for everybody should be 1A and 1B.
We'd love for them.
Deal. Yes.
Except if I want to.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, is the honors.
Except if I want a state diploma or whatever we call it, then you only need 1A.
So there's a rationale as to why students are most often pursuing a 20 credit diploma, and most often as a student who is struggling in one area or another. Oftentimes, as you can hear from these 4 individuals, it's math. Math is the biggest struggle that students come to us, and this is not a district level, this is everywhere. So a student can still get some base, algebraic exposure without without earning credit in both of those courses. However, if a student is pursuing the BHS diploma, the 26 credit diploma, or the diploma of distinction, we want those students to be exposed to a greater variety of standards of content because they're likely going to be going further in their math studies during their time with us, let alone the time that they would spend post-secondary. So it's a greater exposure, a wider variety of standards. They're important. And if you take all the standards for all the courses and you jam them into one semester, do we want every one of our kids to take and pass Algebra 1A and 1B? Absolutely. And would it take a year? Absolutely. But we also have students coming in who are struggling in pre-algebra functions. So if the concern is that, if there's inequity, we have students who aren't there yet. So it takes them longer. So if now we move into they have to get 1A and 1B regardless of which diploma track they're taking, if they come in pre-algebra, now there's a year and a half of their studies.
And the goal is really not to create inequity at all. It's to align our students with a pathway that's appropriate for their choices post-high school. So it removes a science choice for them. For instance, some of our students who are special ed students, they get an elective math credit for taking their special ed math courses. Mm-hmm. We're trying to meet students where they are, move them along, and also kind of validate their choices in life about in the direction that they're heading in. So that's all about the pathways for them. We also, as a Shaker Regional School District, had no input into what those minimum requirements were for the state minimum requirements. So we do our best, just like all the schools in the area do, in terms of matching up what we provide with what the state minimum will be. But we have our own high expectations to be able to hold students to for our standard diploma and for our diploma distinction as well.
And I'll go one more step further. The point isn't for kids to get credits. The kid is supposed to learn. And so if they don't have the opportunity and the time to learn this material, they are going to struggle in later courses. It has been proven. That's why, as we've talked about, so many schools have adopted this, that a year of algebra is good for students. And questions about content area and things like that, and the rationale and what these teachers have seen for, I didn't add up your total years in the classroom. I feel like that might have been Chris, easy. Chris is choked up just even thinking about it.
Mike,
But so I just was question about the Algebra 1 honors. So you got a student, these gifted students that come in, they can clear all their algebra with just that semester, right, with that class. So if they want to take further advanced math classes, there is that route for kids. I'm assuming that must be like probably a recommendation from eighth grade teachers and just coming up. So the kids that do want to get advanced and get further in math can take that, because I mean, every other math is based on algebra, pretty much. So I can understand from that standpoint.
Forward, even students that did pursue the 1A and 1B are still able to make it to calculus as seniors if they were to choose to do so.
If they take 1A and 1B, if they want to.
In algebra too right now.
Now, if you have a kid come in and they're in the AB, can you guys evaluate them and say, this probably should be an honors kid?
Yes, you
something-
can make those recommendations.
You know what I mean? Like, second week of September, you're like, all right, this is probably an honors kid, and we get this kid like into some AP math before they're done. That's possible.
And there'll be multiple data points used as well to make that recommendation to Algebra 1 honors, not just teacher recommendations, but
Sure,
also
sure.
SAS data.
Yeah, indicators, yeah.
A follow-up to that though, I'm pulling it up. I thought you had said Algebra 1 honors, you would need to have taken something at the middle school to do Algebra 1 honors.
The majority of those students would be in that situation, yes.
So why would you take, I'm just curious, Algebra 1 honors versus 1B? Algebra 1B, if they've had 1A at the middle school.
So in trying to prepare students for an advanced or honors pathway, the pace of an Algebra 1 honors would allow us to go deeper into the material than a traditional 1B might go. So when we talk about, breadth and depth, the Algebra 1 honors would be able to have a deeper depth to create a stronger foundation for them to pursue higher level advanced classes later on. So that's our hope with the 1 semester.
So it's not offered yet, right? Not this year. There's not algebra 1 on. Is that going to happen?
That's our proposal.
It's in the
In the
proposal.
fall.
For
Yeah,
next
that's
fall.
what I thought. Yeah, just making sure I wasn't misreading.
Yeah.
So very basic question. I think we talked about this a month ago, but I'm looking at Michelle because she's got opinions, but I don't understand.
Really?
Has this changed? I guess I'm looking at you and like, what has changed compared to what we did in the past?
I don't know, because as a parent, I didn't even know my kid got 2 credits of algebra when they were in 8th grade. Because I didn't know as a parent that 1A and 1B was a thing, unless you didn't take it in 8th grade. I am only struggling with semantics, just so we're clear. I believe in having Algebra 1A and 1B for the diploma, our regular diploma, and for the Diploma of Distinction. What I am struggling with, and continue even in this conversation, is now I'm going to use the words from 306. Which class meets the algebraic concepts that is required by the state?
If a student has Algebra 1A on their transcript, we would consider that having met that, and they can qualify for the state, whatever we end up calling the state diploma.
So why do we have to? So even as I read the program of studies, we say, and I'm the one who pushed for this, so I own this, but there's Algebra 1A honors, Algebra 1A, 1B, you get some in high school. How do you know as a parent if I'm like, I want my kid to take Algebra 1? Why do we have to split it? Why can't it be? Because as I'm reading civics is civics.
Not next year.
Okay, fine. I feel like
Sorry,
I'm
they changed
saying
things.
so, and this. So I am frustrated because you can't tell me physical science isn't physical science. Is that
Correct. Physical science
That's
is
one that didn't
physical
get
science.
touched. A lot of the other ones
But
did.
that's what I'm saying. As a parent, I want to know Algebra 1. I didn't even know, and both my kids went through, and apparently, because you showed me, which I appreciate, had 2 credits of algebra that they got in 8th grade while still meeting 8th grade competencies. That makes absolutely no sense to me. But And I know that's,
You talk about the eighth grade.
and I know that's changing, you already have. I guess I'm just struggling, why is it so complicated? Why can't we have everyone have an Algebra 1 class and then we call 1B something different than 1B?
I can try to answer that for you.
Great.
So, not every student coming into high school is prepared for Algebra 1.
Yep.
For a
Absolutely.
student that is not quite ready for Algebra, and when I say Algebra 1, I'm talking 1A, 1B all year. That's what I mean when I say Algebra 1. So for them, we've made some modifications to what was called mathematical mindsets. That's going to become pre-algebra, which will address students who are struggling so that we can prepare them for Algebra 1. Students that have taken 8th grade math and are ready to go, they're going to take Algebra 1A, Algebra 1B, and move along. And the majority of our students will most likely fit into that category. For the advanced students that you had mentioned, they're the ones who have taken Algebra 1A in 8th grade. So if they've done exceptionally well, they can take Algebra 1 honors, which, as Megan said, is meant to be more in-depth, much more challenging and rigorous, with a different pace than 1B. Students who did okay in 1A in 8th grade, got enough for the credits, they can go to 1B still. So what we're trying to do is offer the right place for each student based upon what they're ready for in terms of math. So there's essentially 3 entry points.
But that didn't answer my question on why we can't call 1B something else.
Do you have an idea of what you'd like
So-
to call it, Ben?
I don't know.
I have a thought. And I'm just standing because I want to stand. I'm not. Just need to stand. Would it help or not? And I don't mean to muddy the waters, but would it help if instead of calling it with the semantic thing, 1A and 1B, would it be better for you to call it Algebra 1 Part 1 and Algebra 1 Part 2, where Algebra 1 Part 1 satisfies the state requirements. But you want an Algebra 1 course? Well, you take Part 1 and you take Part 2, and now you have the complete Algebra 1.
So if you're asking me personally, no. But I think what I'm getting hung up on is, and again, if this is me, move on. But for me, I don't know what to call it, but to me, Algebra 1, whatever it is, should be the same, just like physical sciences.
But it can't be.
The same as what?
It's just.
It cannot be.
It's just one course split in half.
So you're saying you'd rather have it called
You only
Algebra
need
1 just
half.
be a year-long course?
No, I'm saying Algebra 1 is Algebra 1.
And it takes a year to do it. It takes a year to do it.
And with the block scheduling for an average student.
No,
Right.
what I'm saying, let me pick, Amanda, I know you just asked me this. I need there are other schools that call it something else. I just can't remember because I pulled like 16 schools. So it's Algebra 1 and then it's what's something higher than Algebra 1 but not Algebra 2.
Super duper algebra.
But Algebra B, I don't think is higher, it's just a continuation of the standards.
But you can't take B before you take A.
Sure, because it builds.
Because of the way they did it.
Right, so I'm saying, for me, the confusion is coming from, I think it's confusing. When I read this book, it's confusing. 1A, 1B. In fact, when you look at the core standards diploma, it actually says including Algebra 1. I don't know what Algebra 1 is based on what you described, because the only Algebra 1 course we have is the only Algebra 1 course we have is Algebra 1 honors.
Can I bring up something slightly different that might help this? You were talking before about parents being confused. Is that correct? About like all of the different terminology and things like that. So one of the things that our counseling department does a great job at, along with the middle school counseling department, is that every student is recommended specifically for the course that, based on their test scores, based on the teacher's recommendation, they would feel them appropriate for. And those are the recommendations that go home. So I think that those recommendations, along with the program of study, so they can specifically look at what their student is taking, it's not meant to be a minefield for parents, and we get it. Like, parents should not have to read Ed 306 and try to devour all that information because it's really dense and it changes all the time. And so we're trying to mitigate those changes for parents by doing things like looking at the data, making those recommendations, building things for them, and also then having their graduation requirements and showing the students and the parents specifically where they need to take courses in order to make it less muddy and something that is inherently muddy for parents. I think that us trying to do that is helpful because these things I imagine will continue to change. Just because they've nailed down what this year they want for an Ed 306 doesn't mean that that won't change next year as well. And that's not something that we can necessarily predict.
So I just had a question. So you said, coming from 8th grade, it's Algebra 1A that they take in 8th grade? So if they do well enough in it and they come into the high school and they only need to take B, is that second semester? Do they offer B first semester?
We offer it both.
You do? Okay. So it's not necessarily that they might get held up there either and miss out on something. So a kid did well in A in 8th grade, gets that credit, comes in, they start in Algebra in 1B right away. Or honors, right?
We normally only
Or-
have, it's fewer sections of one unit.
Of course, because you probably don't have nearly as many
But
kids
it's
that need it.
offered.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there really is like 4 different ways they can get into it.
Those students would
In-
still
in a
have
school
a
or-
full year of math. They would still have 2 semesters of math as freshmen doing the.
Yeah, would they do start geometry in the second semester? Yeah, I think that's what my son did. Yeah. So
And I think you brought up a good typo that we get caught on, that confusion of Algebra 1 being a requirement for that 20 credit diploma. That should say 1A. If that's kind of preventing confusion for
So-
what qualifies as that credit.
Can we use like advanced algebra, or can there be Algebra 1 that equals 1A? And then, because you asked me what I wanted it to be called, or elementary algebra, or I'm really struggling. And I hear what you're saying, except that I'm a parent whose 2 kids went through and got 1A and 1B credits and I didn't even know it. So when people ask me, in fact, I told a board member, it's like, I don't understand why they have to take this and that. I go, oh, that's only if your child didn't take it in, I don't even know what I said, middle school in 8th grade. So I think I think it causes confusion, because if we're saying 1A meets the algebraic concepts or whatever it was called in there, then we should call it that, and then we should have advanced algebra or.
But now you're talking about having something called advanced algebra, Algebra 1 honors, Algebra 2. You need Algebra 1 to move on to the advanced algebra studies that you're talking about. So I
feel unheard, Mr. Finch, particularly. I'm just gonna say that. I don't feel unheard by the math teachers, but I feel unheard by you. And so I need to say that, because I feel like every time I say something, it's like, no, we need it this way. And I'm asking for some brainstorming and I have nothing. So you guys move on. I'm good. I don't agree. And I feel like I'm being told I don't know what I'm talking about. And I do know what I'm talking about. I've done a lot of research. I totally support the 1A and 1B concept, but there is no discussion clearly that you guys are willing to have around creative problem solving, because you've already made up your mind. So I'm good. I pushed, I did, I'm good, truly.
Other questions?
I'm going to ask about the VLAX. So if someone takes algebra through VLAX for one solid year of algebra, That doesn't count with you guys?
It would have to be approved through our counseling department. It's in the
Okay.
program studies actually.
So it can be approved. You said it didn't count at all earlier in the
Our
conversation.
policy states that no, you cannot, because we can get it into your schedule. But if there are exceptions to be made, and this is how it's stated in there too, then conversations have to happen at the counseling level and then be approved through administration.
All right, so you can, if you go through the proper channels. Okay, that's a
You
question.
just have to have, I think you just have to have a reason. It can't just be because you're trying to dodge it at the school.
Correct.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No,
If you're-
I was just asking the question.
So it's not that it's locked down, I guess.
Yeah, but it sounded like it was locked down.
I would, I was gonna say, so you can do Algebra 1A and 1B potentially in middle school, and that would be accepted.
Just
Just A, sorry, just A.
That was new this year, so because making sure that they had a solid foundation with the 8th grade math concepts. So it's 8th grade math and 1A combined in that 8th grade year for that group of students. And I don't think I said my name, Beverly Pendleton, Director of Curriculum.
So that would be accepted, the credit from middle school for 1A,
Correct.
but not VLAX.
Well, so I had that exception where my son took it in VLAX in 8th grade, and they accepted it, but he still needed the additional.
You would still have to take 1B.
Yeah, I don't remember exactly what he did. I'd have to ask him.
The VLAX exception is specifically meant for what you were saying, was that if we give you Algebra 1A in your course, or Spanish 1 in your schedule, and you're like, nope, I'm not gonna take it with that teacher, I'm gonna take it online.
Right, you can't dodge, yeah.
No, you can't dodge it.
No, it's, yeah, I was using my son's example. He was a COVID year, 8th grader, so he took
Yep.
VLAX in 8th grade, so he took VLAX algebra.
Or
And when he came over, he still had to get the next math experience, and I think he ended up, he got an exception to be able to do something else, but he had to do another math
Yes.
class.
And we have plenty of students who take VLAX because they offer a plethora of courses that we are just not
Can't
able to offer on our campus.
And also say during those years,
Yeah, it was kind of a, it's,
the world was an exception.
yeah, exactly. No, that's why it's just, that's why I say it's an exception.
Well, I'm just glad that we gave everybody a reason to come tonight.
I would like to request, I don't know if the board is interested, I would like to request that we get the program of studies earlier than in April, because I know lots of schools had them out for 2026, 2027, but I also feel under a time, students have already picked classes, like, I don't feel like we can have dialogue, or because we're too much under the pressure of.
Well, and plus we don't have that second meeting of April, so we haven't met for a month.
So it's not enough time to really, in my opinion, for us to do our due diligence.
Get it to you earlier.
Is this also, I mean, being new, this seems like this is kind of a radical change to the program of studies compared to a typical year, right?
Because the NO3's
Yeah,
last
going
year,
up
it took.
with the requirement
Yeah, we've
changes.
never had this many changes.
Yes, I mean, it seems like the whole thing's been shredded, kind of.
Yes. Thank you for recognizing that. We were just gonna.
Yeah, I was like,
going to say that.
You've had a lot of work. You've had a lot of work
Yeah.
That has not been my experience.
in the past. There are always a lot of changes.
No, I didn't say there are
No,
always a
we're
lot of
just late.
changes, we always get them late.
Or like a year.
Yeah.
Or April-ish timeframe.
Yeah, the handbooks.
I just was saying more like, there's not normally this much going on. and
Correct.
Right, to look at, you're like a couple of things and a couple of questions and to move on, right? But there's a lot changing, a lot of moving parts this year.
All right, this is up for action. Motion.
Make a motion to accept the VHS program of study.
Nice second it.
Further discussion? All those in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Opposed? One aye. One opposed. Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming in.
Thank you, guys.
Driver's ed contract.
So this is something I wanted to discuss with the board. We have had a contract in the past that hasn't been renewed for a couple of years. And the more I've looked out at other districts, very few districts were actually entering into contracts for driver's education. I didn't know if the board still wanted to pursue a driver's education contract with Marks for driver's ed. It doesn't really, I did talk to Matt, it doesn't really make much difference. It doesn't really give our kids the edge to get in first, which is what it used to do. But that was when more districts contracted with actual driver's ed people
Yeah, so I
and
don't-
ran their own, so.
I don't have the contract off the top of my head, but what did we have in it that I might be concerned about not having if we don't have a contract?
Yeah, what did that contract entail? Is it just-
Basically, all it said was that they would hold, they had us hold harmless, which if they're gonna use our site, they have to provide, insurance anyway. And it said that our students would get preference, when filling out the enrollments.
Whatever that means.
Whatever that means, right. I mean, we didn't want to dictate what the fee was, they dictated the fee. So it was just on paper that said, we're gonna contract you, you can use our classroom and just pick our kids first.
So there was not a cost to the school district for this?
No.
Okay.
No, but you do have a for-profit business that's running out of our school with no charge.
Yeah, there's no.
They're
charge.
charging the student.
They, yes, they're running their business out of our facility with no charge from the school district.
Right.
And then it's always been based on the fact that our students get priority for seats. But we're not
So
getting
it's-
any indication that that's the case because he's filling classes, so.
Is there any competitiveness to this contract? Are we looking at anybody else?
No.
No.
No, it's very hard to get any, most of the places won't, the last time we went out to bid to try to get someone, it was him, there was nobody else. I mean, they're running their own businesses, they don't need to partner with
I
anybody.
thought there were fewer options as well.
There
was.
are
I
fewer
think, I think they've
options.
pulled back up a little bit. There's a few more, but it's definitely convenient for our kids at Belmont. And I mean, both of my kids have, one's gone through it, the other's gonna, and we got them in because we followed the procedure, so.
Right.
And it's nice to be able to just drive in the VHS instead of Concord or the Tupton Borough or Hamworth or wherever they are.
The downside to having a contract is if there's something illegal that occurs, the district would also be named. Now, the insurance would hold us harmless and we would be covered, but we would still end up being named.
And by not having a contract, we can't be.
Just because it's at our location doesn't mean we're liable.
You're sure about that?
We're not backing anybody, so, I mean, I can confirm that with,
Well, it's inferred, isn't it? If we're providing
No.
space.
Would that have been part of the contract to begin with, that we would have been held harmless?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
the contract is-
that would be part of it,
That's
yeah.
the only
And that's
reason
the
why
other
I'm
thing.
hedging the law.
When they use our facility, they have to provide a certificate of insurance and they still have to name us as the additional insured. So
So if we no longer had the contract, they wouldn't list us as the additional insurance.
we would if they're gonna use our space.
So even if we don't have the contract, that's part of their insurance requirement.
Correct,
when
to
they
use our
space.
facility, yeah.
So we're still held homeless.
Yeah.
Even if we're
However,
not.
the issue being is that we do not provide our space in our facilities for profit businesses.
Gotcha.
This
We
is,
don't-
this is the
This is the exception, and it's been here for I don't know how many years, but we say no to other for-profit organizations that want to come in and use our facilities because they're making money off of the use of our facilities because they're not, getting charged rent or lease or anything of that sort. So it's from a business perspective.
Do we know what the numbers are? For, meaning, we don't know if half of the students are BHS students or Belmont Canterbury students.
No, I don't get those rosters, I haven't gotten those rosters for years. The last time I would get the rosters was when the state was reimbursing a portion of driver's ed. And that was years ago.
My experience with the Belmont kids that I know, just from seeing the school stuff, most of them take it and take it out to school.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? Yeah, like my kids that come to me in my class that are Belmont kids, they all took it with Mark or
I mean,
Dale before.
yeah. I would hate to take it away because of what the ease of,
Right.
but, I wanna know what our, I'm curious, do we make up the majority of the classes?
Well, I guess my question is more of, are any of our kids being
Bumped.
declined or bumped for a student out of another district? That would be,
Right.
I mean, at some
Matt,
point,
do you
it
know- have you
belongs
heard
to
of
the
any-
families to
Well, I
get
would,
What I'd
signed up
say
in
is
time.
each session is so full. So, I mean, technically, I guess sort of, you know, if a kid from Belmont is calling and saying, I would like to be in this session, but it's already been filled up by some Belmont kids and some Guilford kids and some Laconia kids, then there's not gonna be enough room. I don't know that it's really all that. You know,
I think he dials it right in by when their birthday is and their age, so that it falls at,
And,
you know, they're done a week or two by
an
their birthday.
application and request date.
Yeah.
So I think when you sign up, you sign up.
Yeah.
At one point, I don't know how backed up he is now, but literally at one point he was scheduling it out a year plus.
That's what we schedule a year out for both kids, yeah. Yeah, year out. Yeah.
Particularly post-COVID.
Yeah, so there's a part of you that wants to say, hey, we gotta bump some of these other district kids out for our Shaker kids. But I also realize this is students and families are signing up way.
And that's what kind of what it's done, is pushed everybody way out so that, you know, so when do you have to hold those spots still before you can fill them out with somebody else? And now it's his business.
I'm relying on YouTube because I'm fine with not doing the contract. I just want to make sure we are protected and we're not losing out or taking any risks.
Right, or it's really costing the district.
Yeah. For tonight, it's just up for discussion. We're not looking for any action at this point, so we can look into it a little bit further, but, you know, I think it's something that the board needs to consider one way or the other, because we do have a for-profit private business that's operating out of our schools and has for years, where we're not allowing others to do that. But we just have to confirm that it's benefiting our students specifically. We need to confirm
But
that.
if that's the only for-profit we're allowing, isn't that all the more reason to have a contract with them?
Well, yes, if we want to continue, we do have a contract.
I know, but I'm saying do another
If we decide to do that, yes, if we decide to continue with that, we would need the contract by all means. So it's just a matter of making sure the board wants to contract with
So if we
continue the contract with a private for-profit business.
So there's already a contract in place. Okay.
When's it end?
We're actually, we're just continuing on with it, so it was like an annual, yeah.
Yeah, I guess I'm a little confused about the
Yeah, now that
conversation.
those-
I would want to stick with what we've been doing.
Yeah.
Keeping him here.
Good.
Okay.
There, yeah.
Nice.
It's an easy answer.
Because I think it helps enough of our students that it's
Yeah.
definitely,
Right.
you know, maybe, I mean, unfortunately, maybe a Belmont kid misses out here or there, but I still think a majority of our kids are able to take advantage of it.
Yeah, I mean, this is a huge service, so.
Sounds great.
Okay.
All right, next up on the agenda is a legislation liaison. I would propose we table this because I know Alice has been involved a little bit as well, and I'd like to have that conversation with the full board. It's already a big topic. Unless there's any objections, I say we table it.
I agree.
All right, Chromebook bid.
So we are scheduled to replace 260 Chromebooks. The bids came in higher than what we had originally anticipated. But we did receive 3 proposals, and we are recommending that the award go to Wally Computer for $97,760, and the financing be through First American, which is $34,794.74 per year for 3 years.
And we would take the difference out of the technology.
Tax Special Revenue Fund over what was budgeted.
And it has
Yeah.
plenty of. 260, is that the big lease?
No.
What's
300 was the big lease.
Okay. So can you remind me what the different leases we have for Chromebooks? Do you have that information?
The amounts for each one
No,
or the numbers?
we had like a big one, and then we had a medium one and a smaller one. Sound familiar as far as
Yep,
the
yep.
number of Chromebooks?
Yep, I can look that information up for you.
I guess I'm trying to get a feel for what we're expecting coming up as well.
So right now, there's multiple leases with groups in each.
Yep.
For the district.
Yep. And it goes by the class sizes.
Well, I thought the goal eventually was to get it to kind of even out a little bit, be consistent, but I thought we had.
Well, we do
big-
certain grades, certain years, so as they go through, it does change.
While Debbie's looking, I'm just gonna throw something out there. We have a lot of teachers and administrators here, so. Is there a sense that there's, education kind of runs in circles, it feels like. Is there a sense or a trend going on for less screen time in classrooms? And more hands-on?
A trend?
Yeah, away from screen time in classrooms.
I hope so. I mean, I'm not sure.
So because we went very screen heavy in the last 5-6 years ago, almost 100%, right? You think of backing off from that?
Well, I guess this is a much bigger discussion than this agenda item, but we're providing Chromebooks for every student in the district. And I understand certainly the value for those remote days, because they need the equipment, but I just get the sense that during the school day, there may be a trend towards not using the Chromebooks as much. I don't know about here in Shaker, but nationally. And whether we should be rethinking the expense, pretty big expense that we pay to provide Chromebooks to every student. So it's just a discussion point for another day, but something I read an article about it. It talked about, certainly at the younger grade levels, K3, moving away from using Chromebooks in the classroom and more direct instruction and hands-on instruction.
Well, and at least at the elementary level, I know the only time my kids use their Chromebooks is when we have the remote days for school, at least at home, I mean. So if we're still expecting kids to do remote days for snow days.
Yeah, but you're saying that's the only time they use it?
At home.
Oh,
That's the only time they bring it home.
That's not to bring it home. So
Yeah.
it stays at school otherwise.
Yeah.
Sorry, this is why I don't like Chrome. If I was at my desk, I'd have this.
I don't think what Debbie's looking at impacts the
This
discussion.
particular contract.
As more curiosity as far as, just especially for the newer folks, we have multiple leases of different sizes.
Yeah, different amounts.
Yeah.
300, 260,
Yeah.
90, whatever. Yeah. Gotcha.
Yeah, generally, we've gone down a little bit in some, but the leases generally have been like 135, 700, and 348. It just depended on the cycle of the 700 was the biggest one.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Alright, anyway, this is for action.
Make a motion to award the RFP to Wally Computer Associations for $97,760 and then financing the First American for $34,794.74 per year for 3 years.
Second.
Motion and a second, further discussion. All those in favor of the motion do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
The next item is the annual general assurances that the board has to authorize the chair and the superintendent to sign on behalf of the district. In the past, I have done a side-by-side comparison to tell you what has changed from one year to the next. They changed the entire thing this year. It's all reworded, it's all changed around, so a side-by-side really was not feasible because nothing matched up. It was all basically the same language, just totally revised. But I provided it for your reading pleasure.
Let me try reading
They are fun.
it.
A motion to authorize the board chair and superintendent, also known as the senior educational official, to sign and file the general assurances on behalf of the district.
Second?
Discussion. All right, all those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. All right, budget communication survey results, actually went our superintendent.
So I've provided you the results from our recent budget communication survey that was sent out to staff who are residents of Canterbury or Belmont. Sent out to all of our families, as well as sent out via the town, both Canterbury and Belmont listservs. We received 164 responses, which is good. Because if you recall, our first survey that went out to community members when we developed our strategic plan, we had 30 community members respond. So this is a great response rate. Looking at these numbers specifically, if you put question 1 and question 2 together, there were 170 respondents that either agreed or somewhat agreed to those two questions. Strongly agreed or agreed to those two questions. So that's 170 out of 328. This is putting the two questions together. So that gives you a 52% agreement. As for our metric on our strategic plan, that notes us as meets few expectations, because that metric is 50 to 69%. So at our first round for this budget communication survey, we're at the 52% in agreement based on these two questions. And then the comments are provided to you as part of this PDF to give you some feedback from our community members. You can see that the majority of our community members are requesting this information via email. The next is mail, and then pretty low down there is social media. So some food for thought when it comes to the communication process. Interested in reading some of these comments, because it seems like we feel that we're providing all of these resources in every way we possibly can. I'm not sure if people are getting them or reading them, so it's hard to really determine. You can also see from some of the comments that some people might have confused the school district survey for a town survey. So it's tough to interpret the comments, but more importantly, you can see the way people want to receive it is via email, the majority of them.
Did we ask a question as far as whether the respondent was somebody associated with the schools, like a parent, versus I don't have any kids in these schools?
We did not. It just went out as a general anonymous email.
Wouldn't that be helpful to know? Like, I just get the sense, just off the top of my head, that the folks that have kids in the school would be more favorable towards knowing about the budget versus the folks that don't have anybody affiliated with the schools, because they don't get the newsletters, they don't get some of the stuff that all the parents get.
Yeah. We can, again, next year we'll do this again. We can tweak that to get more specific information if we need to.
See what the demographic is.
So, I'm reading through this and seeing that, each town provided our budget information. Like Belmont put it in their newsletter, their monthly newsletter. Here's where you can access it. It went out on the Canterbury Town email listserv. Here's where the information is located and so forth. So we're trying to hit those community members that aren't getting our school district emails, because those go out, through our SAU office or through our principal's offices. So it's really trying to tag the community members that aren't part of our email system.
And I do
Our
think
district
that,
email system. The mailing piece is a cost. So
yeah, but I feel like we have to have that discussion again as
Right.
far as can we do a postcard that has a link to it or something? I want to be able to he's the folks that spend the time to
Yeah, give
reply,
us something.
but not break the bank on the budget.
Yeah, I think we can do postcards. Those are reasonably cheap to do with, here's how you access the information, a QR
Yeah,
code,
say put a QR code.
anything of that sort. We can do that compared to a large mailing because not even our towns are sending out.
Because that QR
It's
code
large
could get put on social media too. So
Right.
Even though that's a small amount, but
Yep.
that's simple
Yep.
enough.
So.
How's good info though?
Right. Yeah. So clearly we want to establish a goal that we're going to go higher than 52% agreements over the next 2 years. That's part of establishing a metric on our strategic plan.
Updates.
Yep. April was a good month for getting our name out there throughout the state. My presentation that I did to the State Board of Education for our Lakes Region High School Consortium, there was a press release that was sent out based on that. And every opportunity I have where there's any type of communication, whether I'm presenting something or someone within our district, we highlight our school district. And so our name gets out there, and I always take the opportunity to mention how great of a school community we have, because we do. So a press release was sent out. I'll make sure the board gets a copy of that, as well as I mentioned to the board, I was asked to do a presentation regarding our strategic direction and our strategic plan using Qualtrics. It did that through the DOE, a lunch and learn presentation where we had system leaders from throughout the state that were part of that. And
was that in person?
That was in person, yeah. And the advertisement for that lunch and learn, Shaker Regional School District. So we just want to, every opportunity we have to really highlight our school district and the great things. And our strategic plan is being discussed as somewhat of an exemplar for the process that we went through, as well as how it's laid out, and it's very user friendly. So I've already had conversations with other superintendents that are exploring this option that we went through. So it's good PR for us. So April's a good month in that sense, and I'll make sure the board gets that information.
Great.
Yeah. And clearly it's the final stretch to the end of the school year. It's a busy time in all the 4 schools right now, by all means. Which leads me right into summer programs. We're all set for our summer programs at this point. The majority of our programs are running from July 6th through July 24th. That includes our summer Title I program at BES, our summer programs at both BMS, BES, and CES. And we are doing our credit recovery and standards recovery at the middle and the high school, starting right after school into the first week of July. So we're off and running with that, getting staff to work during those summer hours, so it's good, we're ready to go. That's all I have.
Questions for Michael?
Have there been any students this semester that have participated in the consortium?
No, we're still at 0.
Okay.
Still at 0. Because I keep mentioning, I mentioned the state board, that's a good thing right now.
Do you know if any students have taken advantage of other school districts?
That's no.
Oh, okay, that 0 is
still 0 across the consortium, right? I'll meet with the principals and the superintendents and the school counselors again this summer to make sure that we're all set with our list of course options going into the first semester of next year, and we'll just keep it running. The state board did ask me to go back once we get one student to provide an update. They're really excited about it. Usually we get 10 minutes on their agenda. I spoke with them for 45. So they're really excited about the opportunity we're doing here in the Lakes region. They're looking to make sure that I can follow up when I can.
I guess the follow-up question is, was there any surprise on their part that there were 0 students?
No, not really. First of all, because the point that they made is that it's really in its infant stage right now. This is the first year of doing it. So, when you put something new out there, not everybody's jumping on board, or basically you need time for things to get established. But they weren't really surprised over the fact that the point that was made is that our high schools offer robust program of study, so students have the opportunity they have in their local school district. They're very familiar with that, so they're just happy that we are being collaborative and opening up opportunities for students in the Lakes region. And I made it a point specifically that we look at students in the Lakes region as not necessarily our students for our district, but every student in the Lakes region is our student, and that's how we view our students here in the Lakes region. They were very happy about all of that. And to get 45 minutes in front of them is good.
Nice. Anything else?
Nope. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And on the horizon. We're still planning to have a director of technology project update.
Yeah, in facilities.
For June 9th and June 23rd, I see buildings and grounds at 5:30 for both of those days. Is that correct?
Yeah. No, we try to stick to the
guess
first meeting of the month.
Okay, just the night. Okay.
All right, because we
Get the policy.
both policies on that place too.
Yeah.
Yeah, you get the
Mhm.
policy
Yeah, it would
meetings.
change that. B&G would be on the 9th and policy would be on the 23rd.
Though.
You would be what's on both as well.
All right, anything else on that? All right, volunteer list.
Second one thing is,
Yeah.
yeah, okay, second meeting is just one.
Make a motion to approve the volunteer list of the accept that. You know, the things
Yes.
on there. You know what I mean?
I second it.
Sure, no, man.
Conditional approval.
All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. And enrollment report.
Yes, so you can see as of the 1st of this month, our district total is 1,082 students. It's 3 fewer students than last month.
Questions? All right, internal policy.
So we're all here for a second reading.
So we're up
Any
for
questions?
action.
Yep.
So. I'll do them one by one. So first up is IHBAA.
I make a motion to approve IHBAA as presented.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. IKF. So, New Hampshire's,
Yeah, I think we have to update.
okay. So are we going to update line 39 to whatever we're,
Yeah, I liked the words.
Core standards diploma.
Yeah. I vote for that.
that came out of policy.
No, that was one of the
Yeah.
terms that came out of the high school.
Yeah, we had talked about, we didn't really like any of the choices. So I'm glad Mr. Finch brought us something that.
All right,
So it's just a matter of updating it on the year. Is that something that's gotta be, should,
They would also read that on the actual diploma itself. It would say New Hampshire Core Standards Diploma.
okay.
So is
For to change it.
is that as amended then? Or as it's presented in here?
It's gonna be.
Yeah, as amended.
It's gonna be as amended.
Thank you.
Can I just make a note? So what you just alluded to, we have our diplomas now, so it wouldn't be until the class of
So
27.
the 2026 diploma is going to get what's there now. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Which
So you're
makes
not
sense
gonna
because that's
resync.
actually, it's under the current program of studies, but it would be future diplomas or
Right.
whatever type of
Okay.
change.
And this is just a gripe of mine, but under the citizenship piece on page 5 of 7, I still feel like, talks about the district will develop a competency assessment in the United States government and civics, consistent with applicable law. Like, I still feel like we should be spelling out, pursuant to House Bill 157, whatever, just to put the onus on the state, because this isn't us making these changes. We're being told to make these changes. So I'm not proposing we change anything, but it's always a part of me that feels like we should spell that out. Any other edits for that one? Just one. Right. For action.
Make a motion to approve IKF. As amended.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. And then public gifts and donations, KCD.
Make a motion to accept KCD as presented.
Second.
There's a $20,000 amount in a
RSA.
RSA. It's in the RSA.
Yeah, it should be.
$198:200-B.
Yep.
Yeah, we did have it.
We footnoted.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the wrong footnote. But yes, it is footnoted.
Just to make sure I understand, so if we have a gift of, say, $19,000 for a part-time person.
Oh, pay like a salary?
Yeah. We're gonna give a gift to the district. That doesn't need to be approved by the board? It needs to be approved, but not a public
You don't have to have a public hearing. The board still has to accept the gift at a board meeting.
Because it's over 2,500.
Correct.
Falls in at the second threshold. I second your motion.
Motion and second? Or
We already did that.
Yeah,
It was me and Michelle.
Oh, you're.
Michelle made the motion and I seconded it. You had your.
and then I had a question.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Michael.
Sorry. Yeah.
All right. All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. Nominations. You can do those in public unless there's any questions.
You want to do them individually or all together?
You can do it together.
All right, make a motion to accept the nominations of BS elementary teacher and the BMS 7th grade social studies teacher.
I second it.
Motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes, and we have some resignations. All right, public communication and correspondence. If anyone wishes to speak, now would be the time. We do have to go into non-public right now.